Officials are giving an update on Tuesday's high school shooting. Let's listen in.
Today's the start of the legal process. When we begin to gather and review all of the facts, when we begin to put together a full timeline of events, it will take time, but the victims and their families and the entire community need and deserve those answers. There are some facts we already know. Based on the investigation so far, I am charging the young man who took the gun into that school and shot Hannah St. Juliana, age 14, a volleyball player and a basketball player, and her father asked me to tell you that she was one of the happiest and most joyful kids. Madison Baldwin, age 17, a talented artist and big sister. Tate Meyer, a junior football player and honor student. Mr. Meyer asked me when I spoke to him if I had children, and I said that I did, and that I would treat this case like these are my own children. Justin Schilling, age 15, co-captain of the Oxford bowling team and a golfer. We are charging this individual with 1 count of terrorism causing death, 4 counts of first-degree murder, 7 counts of assault with intent to murder, and 12 counts of possession of a firearm and the commission of a felony. When the shooting started yesterday, the students and teachers and staff in the school had to act quickly to save their own lives. Law enforcement and all of the first responders had to act quickly to prevent more lives from being lost and to get help for those who have been shot. Last night and this morning, we had to act quickly to review the evidence that has already been gathered and issue these initial charges. Going forward from today, the process becomes more methodical. As the sheriff said last night, there is a lot of evidence still to be collected. There are important facts still to be gathered. The process will take time. The investigators and my office will pore through all of those facts. They will make sure that we have left no stone unturned to get to the answers to all of your questions, our questions about how and why this happened. So today is only beginning, and it's possible there could be additional charges issued very soon when that investigation is reviewed and complete. We are in close contact with the investigators and the sheriff. Please understand that I cannot and they cannot disclose any details or evidence that could compromise our case. I will not do that to the victims of these, the families of these victims and our community, and this needs to be our focus. We are ethically bound not to reveal those details. I want to explain why we are charging this suspect as an adult in this case. First, the seriousness of the crime this person committed under Michigan law. There are crimes that the legislature has said are so serious that a person who commits them can automatically be charged as an adult. First-degree murder is the most serious of all those crimes. Second, there are facts leading up in the shooting that suggest this was not just an impulsive act. Those facts are not appropriate for discussion right now because it could affect the prosecution of this case. Lastly, charging this person as an adult is necessary to achieve justice and protect the public. Any other option would put all of us at risk of this person because they could be released and still a threat. My job is to protect our community from people who commit these kinds of crimes, and that's what I'm going to do. Let me explain the next steps. A short time ago, these charges were issued, and law enforcement is swearing to these charges currently. The suspect will be arraigned later this afternoon. To prevent further tragedies like the one we witnessed yesterday and at large, we have got to address responsible gun ownership in this country and in Oakland County. Responsible gun ownership, including the security of a gun, is an absolute imperative to protect our community today and in the future, and those who do not do that should be and will be held accountable. Kids deserve better. Parents deserve better. Teachers deserve better. We have to do better. And I'm committed to seeking justice for the victims of the Oxford High School shooting and all Oakland County kids who face violence. It's my fervent hope that this will be the last time we experience an incident like this happen in Oakland County or anywhere. I'm committed to doing my part to ensure we honor the lives of those lost, those taken, by pursuing this case with the full weight of this office. And now I'll take questions.
You say that this wasn't an impulsive act, if you don't want to talk about it. I mean, don't you owe some explanation to folks about what that is? And I mean, we've been asking about that, the community's been asking about that. There's got to be something you can give us in terms of what that impulsive act is. I understand you have a whole prosecution to do, but there's a way to do that. And I think given everything with this case, I think folks are owed some kind of an explanation as to what led up to this.
I have a professional ethical duty not to disclose facts that will jeopardize the prosecution of the case or threaten a fair trial, which would be the absolute worst thing for the victims of this shooting. Second, we've charged 4 counts of first-degree murder, which requires premeditation. And I am absolutely sure, after reviewing the evidence, that it isn't even a close call. It was absolutely premeditated.
And what about the father? Is he under investigation? Is he facing any potential charges? You talked about responsible bullying.
We are considering charges against both parents, and we will be making a decision swiftly.
Thank you.
Could you spell the name of Mr. Crumbly for us so we all have it right? And also, could you talk about the arraignment? If you
We'll be
have any-
passing out the information, so you could have that name. I really don't want to mention the name anymore. I want the focus to be on the victims of this crime.
Can you share at all about questions, appreciating what you've just said, that you can't delve deeply, but can you offer any clarity in regard to social media postings allegedly by this individual and whether they were authentic, not, or is that part of what you're talking about with premeditation?
I can say that there is a mountain of digital evidence, videotape, social media, all digital evidence possible, and we have reviewed it, and it absolutely, we are confident that we can show it was premeditation.
Were the victims targeted, or does it appear to be random at this point?
I can't comment on that.
The premeditation, is there a time period you can give us, Elisa, when you think he started planning this?
Well before the incident.
Days, weeks? I mean, the gun was purchased 4 days before.
Well before the incident.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just some question about how
Hold on a second. Go
Can you
ahead.
talk about what you found inside his home when you were searching it?
A search warrant was executed, and I cannot comment on what was discovered.
Can
Yes.
you talk about the terrorism charge and how someone gets charged with that?
Yes, I'd love to. It's not a typical charge, but when we sat down and talked about the charges that were applicable in this case, the children that I have just listed and those that were injured, they're the victims in the first-degree murder charges and the assault with intent to murder. But what about all these other children? What about all the children who ran, screaming, hiding under desks? What about all the children at home right now who can't eat and can't sleep and can't imagine a world where they could ever foot back in that school? Those are victims too, and so are their families, and so is the community. And the charge of terrorism reflects that.
Interactions with the parents, with the suspect's parents, how have those been right now?
Difficult. Very difficult. This is unspeakable. We send our kids to school. We think that they're going to be safe. The only thing that I can do as the prosecutor is ensure that I will do everything I can to prosecute this case and pursue justice for these victims, but also to speak out and say that we need better gun laws.
Did the shooter or the parents have any prior record?
I can't comment on that.
to verify, he's facing life in prison because he's being charged as an adult. Is that correct?
That is correct.